The massive alien ship hung in the sky above Seoul like a silver leaf. For 3 days it had stayed there, silent and waiting. The world held its breath. Dr. Jun Kim stood at the window of the hastily assembled First Contact Center, his eyes fixed on the ship. As Korea's top xenobiologist, he had spent his life preparing for this moment. Still, no amount of training could fully prepare anyone for humanity's first meeting with aliens. "Ready for this?" asked Captain Tae Lee, coming to stand beside him. Tae wore his military dress uniform, medals gleaming on his chest. Jun nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." The Korean government had chosen them as Earth's representatives, Jun for his scientific knowledge and language skills, Tae for security and diplomatic experience. They made an odd pair, Jun tall and thin with round glasses, Tae compact and strong with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "They're coming down," said Tae, pointing to a small craft detaching from the main ship. The alien shuttle landed gently, in the open area outside the center. Its doors opened with a soft hiss. 3 beings walked out. They were tall, at least 7 feet, with smooth blue skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Their heads were slightly larger than human heads, with large, unblinking eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. They walked with a strange grace, their movements flowing like water. "Remember," whispered Jun as they walked toward the meeting point. "Their translators should work, but speak clearly and simply." The lead alien stepped forward. "Greetings from the Galactic Federation. I am Ambassador Zaltek of the Volranian species. We come in peace and friendship." The voice from the translator was smooth and slightly musical. Jun bowed deeply, following the protocol they had planned. "Welcome to Earth. I am Dr. Jun Kim, and this is Captain Tae Lee. We are honored by your visit." The first meeting went better than anyone had hoped. The Volranians were polite and curious about Earth. They explained that they were part of a group of peaceful species who shared knowledge and resources across many star systems. "We have been watching your broadcast for some time," said Zaltek. "Your species is young but shows great promise. We wish to offer you membership in our federation." Later that evening, in the privacy of their office, Jun and Tae discussed the offer. "It seems too good to be true," said Tae, always cautious. "Advanced technology, space travel, protection from any hostile aliens, all for joining their club?" Jun nodded. "I understand your worry, but from what I can tell, they genuinely value diversity. Each species brings something unique to their federation." "And what do we bring?" asked Tae. "That's what we need to find out," said Jun. Over the next few days, meetings continued. The Volranians were surprised by many human customs, but seemed especially interested in Earth's diverse ecosystem. "Your planet has an unusual number of predator species," noted Zaltek during a tour of Seoul's National Museum of Natural History. The way he said predator made it sound almost dirty. "Yes," said Jun. "Earth's evolutionary path created a balance between predator and prey species." Zaltek's large eyes blinked rapidly, the first time Jun had seen them blink. "Most civilized species evolve from plant eaters. It creates a natural tendency toward cooperation rather than competition." Tae raised an eyebrow at this but said nothing. On the 5th day, the Korean government hosted a formal dinner for the alien visitors. The human and alien delegations sat together at a long table decorated with flowers and traditional Korean art. The Volranians had explained that they could not eat Earth food due to different biology, so they brought their own food, things that looked like colorful fruits and vegetables. "In our culture, sharing food is an important way to build trust," explained Jun, as servers brought out dishes of bulgogi, bibimbap, and various banchan side dishes. Zaltek watched with interest as the humans began to eat. "You consume animal flesh?" he asked, his translator struggling to keep the shock from his voice. "Yes," said Tae, picking up a piece of bulgogi with his chopsticks. "This is beef, meat from cattle. It's a traditional dish." The 3 Volranians exchanged glances. Jun noticed that their skin had taken on a slightly paler shade of blue. "We Volranians are strictly plant eaters," said Zaltek. "Our bodies cannot process animal proteins. But more than that, the idea of consuming another living creature He paused, searching for the right word. Disturbing to us. June nodded with understanding. Many humans choose not to eat meat for similar reasons. We call them vegetarians or vegans. The dinner continued with friendly conversation about art, music, and the differences between their cultures. June demonstrated how to use chopsticks, which fascinated the aliens with their six-fingered hands. Tay picked up a small decorative knife to cut a piece of fruit for demonstration. The knife was sharper than he expected, and it slipped, cutting his index finger. "Ah," he said, more surprised than hurt. A small drop of red blood appeared on his fingertip. The reaction was immediate and shocking. All three Volranians pushed back from the table at once, their chairs scraping loudly on the floor. Their blue skin turned almost white, and they made a high-pitched sound that hurt human ears. "What's wrong?" asked June, standing up in concern. "Is everything okay?" But as he spoke, he caught the metallic scent of Ty's blood. It was a tiny amount, just a drop, but enough for his human body to react in ways he couldn't control. His pupils dilated slightly, a tiny change almost unnoticeable to humans, but not to the Volranians. Zaltek pointed a trembling finger at June's eyes. Your eyes. They changed when you sensed blood." June blinked in confusion. "It's just a normal reaction. Human pupils dilate for many reasons: lower light, interest, even seeing something we like. Or when a predator senses prey," said Zaltek, his voice shaking. "We have studied many species across the galaxy. That reaction, the widening of the central eye opening at the scent of blood, it is a predator's hunting response." The room went silent. The human delegation looked confused, while the Volranians remained standing, keeping their distance. "Assure you," said Tay calmly, wrapping his cut finger with a napkin, "we are not hunting you. This was an accident." "Of course," said Zaltek, trying to compose himself. "We understand. Please forgive our reaction. It is instinctual." The dinner ended shortly after with polite but strained goodbyes. As the Volranians left, June overheard one of them say to Zaltek, "They cannot help what they are. Their evolutionary path made them predators." Later that night, aboard their ship, Ambassador Zaltek recorded a private message to the Federation Council. "Initial contact with humans has revealed a troubling discovery. While intelligent and seemingly peaceful, humans show clear biological signs of predator evolution. Their eyes, teeth, and digestive systems all point to a meat-eating past. Most concerning, they display involuntary hunting responses, pupil dilation upon sensing blood, that they cannot control. We must proceed with caution. These humans may appear civilized, but they harbor dangerous predator instincts just beneath the surface. The question before us is whether a predator species can truly join a peaceful galactic community, or if their nature will eventually reveal itself in ways we cannot predict. I await your guidance on how to proceed." Zaltek ended the recording and looked out at the blue and green planet below. So beautiful, he thought, yet home to creatures that evolved as hunters. The very idea made his skin pale with ancient, instinctual fear. The morning after the dinner incident, June found 6 armed Volranian guards outside the meeting room. They stood stiffly, their large eyes watching every human with clear unease. "What's this about?" June asked Ambassador Zaltek once they were seated inside. "A simple security measure," said Zaltek. His voice was polite, but his body stayed far from the humans. "Nothing to concern yourself with." Tay frowned. "It seems like you're treating us as threats now." Zaltek's skin rippled slightly. A sign of discomfort, June had learned. Not threats, just unknowns. The Federation rarely encounters species with predatory traits. "This is ridiculous," said Tay, standing up suddenly. 2 Volranian guards moved forward, holding devices that looked suspiciously like weapons. "Please, Captain," said Zaltek. "Sudden movements make my security team nervous." June put a hand on Ty's arm. "Let's all calm down. We're here to build understanding between our species." The next few days were tense. The Volranians kept their distance from the humans. Their questions changed too, focusing more on human biology, history of wars, and hunting practices. "We need help," June told President Han during a private meeting. "The aliens are treating us like dangerous animals. We need a cultural expert." The Sao. President nodded. "I know just the person." Dr. Jin Park arrived the next day. She was a cultural anthropologist who had studied how different human societies interacted with each other. Small and energetic, with short hair and quick eyes, Jin brought a new energy to the team. "So they're afraid of us because our pupils get bigger when we smell blood?" she asked after June explained the situation. "It's more than that," said June. "I think they evolved from prey animals. Their eyes are on the sides of their heads, good for wide vision to spot predators. They're plant eaters with no history of hunting." Jin nodded thoughtfully. "And we evolved as omnivores with predator traits, forward-facing eyes for hunting, teeth for tearing meat, and instinctual responses we can't control, like pupil dilation," finished Tay. "They see these as signs we're dangerous." "Then we need to help them understand us better," said Jin, "both our biology and our culture." The next day, Jin joined the diplomatic team. She brought a fresh approach, asking the Volranians about their history and culture first, building trust before explaining human ways. "On our homeworld," Zoltek told her, "our ancestors lived in large groups for protection from predators. We learned early that cooperation kept us safe. When we developed tools, it was never for hunting, only for gathering food and building shelters." "That's fascinating," said Jin. "Humans also learned to cooperate, but partly because hunting large animals required teamwork. Our tools served many purposes, some for hunting, yes, but also for art, building, and exploring." Zoltek seemed interested despite himself. "Your development was shaped by being both predator and sometimes prey, an unusual path. But one that taught us valuable lessons," said Jin. "We learned empathy by caring for our injured. We created art to tell stories. We built civilizations based on more than just survival." While Jin made progress with Zoltek, strange rumors began spreading through the Volranian ship. Crew members who had accessed Earth's internet came across hunting videos, war documentaries, and violent movies. One day, a junior Volranian scientist named Keltor approached June with nervous questions. "Is it true," he asked in a whisper, "that humans keep the teeth of their enemies as trophies?" June almost laughed until he saw Keltor was serious. "No, that's not common practice. Where did you hear that? And do human children practice hunting by killing small animals?" "Some human cultures have hunting traditions," June explained patiently, "but we don't encourage cruelty to animals. Most humans today buy their food from stores." Despite these conversations, misunderstandings grew. The Volranian scientists conducted tests on human DNA samples and became increasingly disturbed by what they found. Genes linked to higher aggression than their own species, stronger fight-or-flight responses, and physical adaptations they associated with predators. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, the Federation Council held emergency meetings. The video feed showed 12 different alien species, all with features suggesting they evolved from prey animals, not predators. "We cannot allow a predator species to join the Federation," said one counselor, a small creature with fur and enormous eyes. "History shows they are unpredictable and dangerous. But their civilization has advanced without destroying itself," argued another counselor. "That suggests they've controlled their aggressive instincts. For now," said a third. "But what happens when they gain access to our technology and star maps? They could become the greatest threat the Federation has ever faced." Ambassador Zoltek tried to be balanced in his reports. "The humans show concerning biological traits but also remarkable capacity for cooperation and empathy. They seem to have two natures constantly at war within them." Back on Earth, Jin had a breakthrough idea. She arranged a special presentation for the Volranian delegation, showcasing human art, music, literature, and scientific achievements. "Yes, we evolved with some predator traits," she explained to them. "But look at how we've channeled our energy into creating beauty, advancing medicine, exploring space. Our strength and determination helped us survive, but our compassion and creativity are what made us thrive. The presentation seemed to make an impression on some of the Volranians. Keltor, the young scientist, even approached Jin afterward. "Your species confuses me," he admitted. "You care for the sick and weak instead of letting natural selection take them. You keep animals as pets instead of seeing them as food or threats. You create art that serves no survival purpose." "Those are the qualities we're most proud of," said Jin with a smile. Just when progress seemed possible, disaster struck. During a demonstration of human medical technology, a nurse drawing blood for analysis accidentally dropped a vial. The small glass tube shattered on the floor, spilling red blood. 3 humans in the room had the same involuntary reaction. Their pupils dilated at the sight and smell. The 5 Volranians present all backed against the wall, their skin turning pale blue with fear. The incident undid weeks of careful diplomacy. The Federation Council, already nervous about humans, ordered strict new protocols for all interactions. Humans were no longer allowed on the Volranian ship. All meetings would happen with protective barriers between species. "This is insulting," said Tay during an emergency meeting with President Han. "They're treating us like wild animals that might attack at any moment." "We need to be patient," said Jin. "Their fear is based on millions of years of evolution. Their ancestors were hunted by creatures with forward-facing eyes whose pupils dilated before attacking. We can't expect them to overcome that fear quickly." "But we're running out of time," said June, holding up a tablet showing intercepted communications from the Federation ship. "They're debating whether to continue diplomatic relations or implement quarantine protocols for Earth. Some are arguing that predator species are too dangerous to join galactic society." President Han looked grave. "Then we need to prove them wrong. But how do we show them that human nature, with all its complexity, can be an asset rather than a threat?" Before anyone could answer, an urgent message came through. The Federation ship was picking up distress signals from multiple Federation outposts. The messages were fragmented, but one word came through clearly in all of them: attack. The galaxy was about to learn that there were far more dangerous things than humans, with dilated pupils. The emergency meeting room buzzed with tension. Screens around the wall showed grainy footage of alien ships attacking Federation outposts. The ships were dark and angular, nothing like the smooth curves of Volranian vessels. "Who are they?" President Han asked Ambassador Zaltek. The Volranian skin had turned a dull gray, a sign of deep distress, June had learned. "They call themselves the Krivax. We've had no contact with them before now." "No contact at all?" asked Jin. "How is that possible in a galaxy where you've mapped so many star systems?" "They come from beyond the outer rim," said Zaltek. His large eyes blinked rapidly. "A region we avoided exploring." Tay leaned forward. "Why avoided?" Zaltek hesitated. "Old stories. Legends of dangerous species that did not wish to join the peaceful Federation. We respected their space. And now they're not respecting yours," said Tay. The screens showed more attacks. Federation ships tried to defend their stations but were quickly destroyed. The Krivax ships moved with aggressive precision that the Federation forces couldn't match. "Your ships are retreating," noted June. "They're not fighting back effectively." "The Federation is primarily peaceful," said Zaltek. "Our ships are designed for exploration and trade with minimal weapons for defense only. We haven't faced a true military threat in over 500 years. President Han looked grave. "Ambassador, I think it's time we discussed a new kind of partnership." Over the next few days, humans and Volranians shared information about the Krivax attacks. The news was all bad. 7 outposts destroyed, 3 planets under attack, Federation forces retreating everywhere. "Their military strategy is simple but effective," said Tay, studying the battle footage. "They target communication systems first, then power, then weapons. Classic warfare tactics, which the Federation has no experience with," said Jin. In a private meeting with President Han, the 3 humans discussed the situation. "This changes everything," said Jin. The Federation has been afraid of our predator traits, but now they're facing a real threat. A threat they don't know how to handle, added Tay. Their ships are running away instead of coordinating a defense. June nodded slowly. What if we offered to help, not with ships or technology, but with strategy, military thinking? The very thing they fear about us, said President Han. Exactly, said June. We could show them that our evolutionary history as predators, our ability to think strategically and respond to threats, can be useful. President Han considered this. Make the offer to Zoltek, but be careful. They're still afraid of us. The next day, June, Tay, and Jin met with Zoltek in the specially designed meeting room with its protective barriers. The ambassador looked tired, his usually bright blue skin now pale and dull. The Federation Council has been in emergency session for 2 days, he told them. The Kryvax have destroyed 9 outposts now. They've made no attempts to communicate. They simply attack. Ambassador, said Tay carefully, we'd like to offer our help. Zoltek's eyes widened. What kind of help? Earth has no ships that could reach the battle zones. Not ships, said June. Knowledge, strategy. Humans have a long history of warfare, regrettably, but it means we understand how to think like the Kryvax seem to think. The ambassador was silent for a long moment. You're suggesting we use your predator instincts against the Kryvax. We're suggesting, said Jin gently, that the very traits you fear in us might be valuable against an enemy who fights the way we once did. After much debate, the Federation Council agreed to accept human help, but only in an advisory role. A small team led by Tay would join the Federation flagship to provide strategic guidance. As they prepared to leave Earth, Jin made a discovery while reviewing all the information they had on the Kryvax. Look at this footage, she said, showing Tay and June a close-up image of a Kryvax ship. See the markings on the hull? They're not random, they're territorial markers. Like animals marking their territory, said June. Jin nodded excitedly. And look at the ship design. The way the command center is protected deep inside. The way the weapons are arranged for attack but also quick retreat. This is the design of a species that evolved from prey animals, just like the Volranians. But unlike the Volranians, said Tay, they didn't develop a peaceful society. They became conquerors instead. 2 different evolutionary paths from similar starting points, said June. Fascinating. When they shared this theory with Zoltek, the ambassador was stunned. You believe the Kryvax are like us, evolved from prey species? Yes, said Jin, but they developed differently. Instead of forming a peaceful federation, they became aggressive to ensure their own survival. How does this help us fight them? Asked Zoltek. Because, said Tay with a small smile, if they evolved from prey animals, they might still have instinctual fears of predators, like humans. 2 days later, they boarded the Federation flagship Harmony. The massive ship was beautiful, with sweeping lines and bright open spaces, but it was poorly designed for combat, with vital systems exposed and minimal armor. The Federation officers welcomed the humans with polite caution. Most kept their distance, watching with large, wary eyes, as Tay reviewed their defense plans. This won't work, Tay told the Federation admiral, a tall Volranian named Zentek. You're spreading your forces too thin, trying to protect everything at once. We must protect our people, insisted Admiral Zentek. And you'll lose everything. Trying, said Tay. You need to concentrate your forces, set traps, lure the Kryvax into positions where you can fight on your terms. Traps? Lures? The Admiral's skin rippled with discomfort. These are predator tactics. Yes, said Tay simply. And they work. Reluctantly, the Federation began implementing some of Tay's strategies. The results were immediate. For the first time, they managed to drive back a Kryvax attack force, saving a small outpost near the star Proxima Centauri. As they celebrated this small victory, a strange thing happened. A Kryvax prisoner was brought aboard, the first one, captured alive. The alien was shorter than the Volranians but had similar features, Eyes on the sides of its head, a body built for speed rather than strength. When the Krivax saw Tai, it froze. Its eyes fixed on Tay's face, particularly his eyes. The alien began making a high-pitched sound, a warning cry. "It's afraid of you," said Zaltek, amazed. "Specifically you, not us." June stepped closer to study the Krivax. His scientific curiosity was strong, and he didn't notice that his approach was making the alien more agitated. When June leaned in for a closer look, the Krivax caught sight of his eyes and went into a full panic. "Back away," ordered Zentek. "It's terrified." Later, in their private quarters, the humans discussed what had happened. "Jin's theory was right," said June excitedly. "The Krivax evolved from prey animals just like the Volranians, but they still have instinctual fear of predator species, which they've probably never encountered before," added Jin. "Until now." Tay paced the room thinking, "This could be our advantage. If they fear us instinctively, we can use that." "But how?" asked Jin. "There are only 3 of us here." Tay smiled slowly. "We don't need many. We just need the Krivax to see us, to see our eyes, and to know what they're facing." The next day, Tay presented a bold plan to Admiral Zentek and Ambassador Zaltek. "We put humans on your frontline ships," he explained. "Not many, just enough to be seen by the Krivax. Let them see our eyes, our predator features. Let them feel that instinctual fear." Zaltek's skin changed colors rapidly, a sign of strong emotion. "You want us to use your frightening nature as a weapon?" "Yes," said Tay simply. "The very thing that makes you uncomfortable about us could be the key to saving your people." Admiral Zentek looked at the battle reports, the continuing losses, the failing strategies. Finally, he nodded. "We will try your plan, human. But know this, if you are wrong, many more will die. And if I'm right," said Tay, "many will live who would otherwise be lost." As they prepared for the coming battle, June made one more discovery while studying the Krivax prisoner. The alien's fear response was strongest when it saw human pupils dilate. "It's just like with the Volranians," he told Tay and Jin. "Our pupil dilation triggers their deepest fears. But with the Krivax, the response is even stronger." Tay smiled grimly. "Then let's make sure they get a good look at our eyes when we face them in battle." The Federation was about to discover that sometimes the most frightening thing in the galaxy can also be its best protection. Proxima Station hung in space like a silver flower, its petals opened toward the distant sun. It was the last major Federation outpost before the Outer Rim, and everyone knew the Krivax would attack it next. Inside the station's command center, Tay stood next to Admiral Zentek studying the star map. Federation ships formed a defensive line around the station, but they were too few against the coming Krivax fleet. "They'll break through here and here," said Tay, pointing to weak spots in the line. "We need to strengthen these positions." The Admiral nodded stiffly. The Volranian still didn't fully trust the human, but 5 successful defenses using Tai's strategies had earned him some respect. "The Federation Council has sent a message," said Zaltek, joining them. "They've authorized the use of your special tactics." Tay smiled. "Good. We'll need 20 humans on the frontline ships." 20? Zentek's skin paled. "We have only 3 humans here." "More are coming," said Tay. "President Han has selected 17 soldiers who are already on their way." June and Jin were working in the science lab, studying recordings of the Krivax prisoners' reactions to humans. They had made an important discovery. "It's not just our eyes," said Jin, replaying a video. "Look at the Krivax's reaction when Tay walks into the room. Before the Krivax even sees his eyes, it tenses up." June nodded excitedly. "It senses something about us. Maybe our smell, maybe the way we move, something that triggers its fear response. And when our pupils dilate, the fear becomes terror," finished June. They took their findings to Tai, who was meeting with the newly arrived human soldiers. The men and women stood at attention, a mix of different units from Earth's military forces. Our advantage is psychological, Tay told them. The Kryvax fear us instinctively, the same way ancient prey animals feared predators. We're going to use that fear. How exactly do we do that, sir? Asked one soldier. Tay smiled. By letting them see us, by making sure they get a good look at our eyes. Jin stepped forward. We've created special helmets for you all. They have enhanced visual displays that will make your eyes more visible to the Kryvax. The visors are clear, showing your full face. And, added June, we've added something else. A small device that releases a trace amount of human pheromones. The kind we naturally produce in combat situations. The Kryvax will see us and smell us, said Tay. Everything about us will trigger their deepest fears. The Federation officers watched this briefing with a mixture of fascination and discomfort. They still found humans unsettling, but they were desperate enough to try anything. The human soldiers were assigned to different ships in the Federation fleet. Each ship's crew was nervous at first, keeping their distance from the humans. But as the Kryvax fleet approached, they were grateful for any advantage. The battle began at what Earth would call dawn. The Kryvax attacked with 50 ships, their dark hulls absorbing the light of the nearby sun. They moved in their usual formation, a spearhead aimed at the heart of the Federation's defenses. They're targeting our communication arrays first, said Admiral Zentek, watching the tactical display. Just as you predicted. Tay nodded. Now we spring the trap. He gave the order, and 8 Federation ships that had been hiding behind a small moon moved into position. Each ship had at least one human on the bridge, visible in the forward view screens. The Kryvax ships hesitated, breaking their tight formation. It was a small thing, but enough to disrupt their attack pattern. They see us, said Tay with satisfaction. On the lead Federation ship, Captain Suk Kim stood proudly on the bridge. The Volranian crew had been nervous around her at first, but they worked together smoothly now. Enemy ship approaching, reported a Volranian officer. They're within visual range. Open a channel, ordered Suk. I want them to see me. The view screen showed the bridge of the Kryvax ship. The aliens looked similar to Volranians, but with darker skin and sharp ridges along their heads. Their eyes widened when they saw the human captain. Suk smiled, knowing what was coming. She had practiced this moment. Attention Kryvax vessel. This is Captain Suk Kim of Earth. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. As she spoke, she thought of her family back on Earth, of the need to protect them from any threat. Her pupils dilated naturally with emotion and determination. The effect on the Kryvax was immediate. The alien commander visibly recoiled, making sharp sounds to its crew. The transmission cut off abruptly. They're changing course, reported the Volranian officer, surprise in his voice. They're retreating. All across the battlefield, the same scene played out. Human officers made themselves visible to the Kryvax, showing their faces, letting their eyes communicate the ancient message that all prey animals understand. Predator. The Kryvax ships broke formation, their coordinated attack falling apart. Some continued fighting, but without their usual precision. Others pulled back entirely. I don't understand, said Admiral Zentek, watching in amazement. They still outnumber us. Their ships are more heavily armed. Why are they retreating? Because they're facing something they've never encountered before, said Zaltek, who had been studying the human theories. A true predator species. Their instincts are telling them to run. For the first time since the Kryvax attacks began, the Federation won a decisive victory. 7 Kryvax ships were destroyed, and the rest retreated back toward the outer rim. Intro. The aftermath. Human soldiers were welcomed as heroes on Proxima Station. Federation officers who had once kept their distance now approached them with cautious respect. June continued his research, working with Jin to understand more about the Kryvax. They studied the wreckage of a destroyed Kryvax ship, finding clues about their society. Look at these symbols, said Jin, pointing to markings on a broken piece of metal. They're territorial warnings, just like animals use. Keep away and danger signals. And their ship design, added June. Everything about it suggests a species that evolved constantly looking over its shoulder for predators. Just like the Volranians, said Jin, but they took a different path. Tay met with Admiral Zentek and Ambassador Zaltek to plan their next steps. The mood was different now, less fearful, more respectful. We've analyzed the battle data, said Zentek. The Kryvak's response was strongest when they had direct visual contact with humans, particularly when they could see your eyes. Yes, said Tay. And now we know how to use that more effectively. Zaltek's skin had taken on a new color, a deeper blue that signaled thoughtfulness. It is ironic. The very thing about humans that frightened us may be what saves the Federation. Not just our predator traits, said Tay, but our understanding of conflict. Our species has fought wars throughout our history. We know how enemies think, how battles flow. The Federation has been peaceful for so long. You've forgotten these things. A high price for peace, admitted Zentek. And now, said Zaltek, we find ourselves needing the very skills we feared. On the Kryvak's command ship, far from Proxima Station, the Supreme Leader was furious. The holo displays showed the battle, focusing on the human faces that had appeared on Federation ships. What are these creatures? Demanded the leader. Why do our warriors flee at the sight of them? The Kryvak science officer trembled. They are called humans, Supreme Leader. They are different from other Federation species. Different how? Their eyes, said the science officer. The way they move. Our deepest instincts recognize them as predators, the Supreme Leader hissed. In anger, predators in the Federation? Impossible. The Federation is weak, prey like us who chose submission over strength. These humans are new allies, not original Federation members. And they are true predators. Their eyes face forward, their pupils dilate when they hunt. They show teeth when they prepare to attack. The Supreme Leader paced the command deck. No matter. We will adapt. We will overcome these humans. The Kryvaks conquered their own fears long ago. That is why we rule and others serve. But despite the brave words, the Supreme Leader felt something new, doubt. In all their conquests, the Kryvaks had never faced a species that triggered their ancient fear response. They had always been the most aggressive, the most ruthless. Now, for the first time, they had met a species that made them want to run and hide. Back on Proxima Station, Tay, June, and Jin celebrated with the human soldiers. Their victory had changed everything. The Federation now saw humans not as dangerous predators to be feared, but as valuable allies who could help them survive. To the Federation, said Tay, raising a glass of Volranian fruit juice. And to Earth, added Zaltek, surprising everyone by joining the toast. May our different evolutionary paths lead us to a common future. June smiled, noticing that Zaltek no longer flinched when looking at human eyes. Progress, he thought, small steps toward understanding. But the war was far from over. The Kryvaks would return, and next time, they would be prepared for the human advantage. The real test was yet to come. 3 months after the Battle of Proxima Station, the war had changed. The Kryvaks no longer attacked with their previous confidence. Their fleets moved more cautiously, avoiding direct confrontation with ships known to have humans aboard. But they were adapting. Intelligence reports showed the Kryvaks were developing new helmets for their soldiers, ones that blocked their view of human faces and eyes. They're trying to overcome their instinctual fear, June explained during a strategy meeting aboard the Federation flagship Harmony. If they can't see us, they think they won't fear us. Will it work? Asked Admiral Zentek. Jin shook her head. Not completely. Our research shows their fear response isn't just visual. They sense something about us, our smell, the way we move. The helmets will help them, but the fear will still be there, under the surface. Then we need to do more, said Tay. Push harder on their psychological weakness. In the month since the first victory, more humans had joined the Federation forces. 200 Earth soldiers now served on Federation ships, with 20 more training to become ship captains. The Federation Council, once afraid of humans, now requested even more. Earth had changed too. Federation technology flowed freely now. Medical advances, clean energy, faster computers. In return, humans shared their military knowledge, their understanding of strategy and conflict. President Han met weekly with Ambassador Zaltek, planning for a future where Earth would become a full member of the Federation. The path that had once seemed blocked by fear was now open, paved with mutual need and growing respect. But the Kryvax were planning something big. Federation scout ships reported massive movement near the border of Kryvax space. They were gathering for a major attack. "They're coming for Centauri Prime," said Tay, pointing to the star map. "It's the Federation's main shipbuilding facility. If they destroy it, the Federation loses its ability to replace lost ships." "How many ships are they bringing?" asked Zaltek. "At least 200, said Tay. "More than we can match directly." The room fell silent. Even with humans helping, the Federation fleet had only 90 ships that could reach Centauri Prime in time. "We need something new," said June suddenly. "Something they won't expect." "What do you have in mind?" asked Admiral. Zentek. June smiled. "If their fear of us is partly based on smell, on the pheromones humans release naturally, what if we amplified that?" 3 days later, the plan was ready. Federation scientists had worked with June to create a special compound based on human stress hormones and pheromones. It was loaded into small missiles that could be fired at Kryvax ships. "When these detonate," June explained to the fleet commanders, "they'll release a cloud that will cling to the hulls of their ships. The compound will seep through their ventilation systems, and their crews will smell us," said Tay with a grim smile. "Their instincts will tell them predators are nearby, even if they can't see us." Jin had another idea too. Working with Federation engineers, she developed a new type of holographic projector. When activated, it would project enlarged images of human eyes onto the hulls of Federation ships, eyes with pupils that dilated and contracted in a way that would trigger primal fear in the Kryvax. "Psychological warfare," said Zaltek, watching a test of the projector. His skin rippled slightly, still uncomfortable with these predator tactics but accepting their necessity. The battle for Centauri Prime began at what Earth would call midnight. The Kryvax fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, a massive wall of warships advancing toward the Federation's defensive line. Admiral Zentek stood on the bridge of the Harmony, with Tay beside him as tactical advisor. "They outnumber us more than 2 to 1, said the Admiral. "Numbers aren't everything," said Tay calmly. "Begin Operation Predator." The Federation ships activated Jin's holographic projectors. Enormous human eyes appeared on their hulls, visible even across the vacuum of space. At the same time, the first wave of June's special missiles launched toward the Kryvax fleet. The Kryvax kept coming, their new helmets apparently working. Their frontline ships fired on the Federation defenders, causing shields to flare across the defensive line. "They're not breaking formation," said Zentek with concern. "The psychological tactics aren't working." "Wait," said Tay, watching closely. "The missiles haven't reached them yet." The small missiles detonated among the Kryvax ships, releasing clouds of invisible particles that clung to their hulls. For a moment nothing happened. Then gradually the tight Kryvax formation began to waver. "Their movements are becoming erratic," reported a sensor officer. "Ships are breaking formation. Some are firing at random targets." On board the Kryvax ships, chaos spread. The helmets protected the crews from seeing human eyes, but they couldn't block the smell that now filled their ships. The scent of predator, of danger, of death. Primal fear overcame training and discipline. "Now," ordered Tay, "hit them with everything we have." The Federation ships surged forward, targeting the disorganized Kryvax vessels. On each Federation ship, human soldiers stood ready, their faces visible on communication channels, their pupils dilated with the excitement of battle. When visual contact was established with Kryvax ships, the effect was devastating. Even with their protective helmets, many Kryvax saw the human eyes on their view screens, eyes that spoke directly to the deepest parts of their brains, triggering fear responses millions of years old. Some Kryvax ships began to fire on each other, In confusion, others turned and fled. The perfect formation that had been their strength shattered into chaos. Captain Suk Kim led a group of fast attack ships directly into the heart of the Krivax fleet. Her face appeared on the view screens of a dozen Krivax vessels. "This is your only warning," she said calmly, her pupils visibly dilating as she spoke. "Surrender or be destroyed." The Krivax flagship, a massive vessel at the center of their fleet, suddenly powered down its weapons. A transmission came through. The Supreme Leader himself, his protective helmet removed, his eyes wide with a fear he could no longer control. "We accept terms," the Supreme Leader said, the words clearly painful. "What do you demand?" The battle ended with the Krivax fleet in full retreat. 30 of their ships had been destroyed, 40 more captured. The rest fled back to their territory, their fearsome reputation broken. In the aftermath, Admiral Zentek stood in the observation lounge of the Harmony looking out at the stars. Tay joined him there. "You fought well," said the Admiral. "Your people fought well." "We did what we had to do," said Tay simply. "The Federation Council has voted," said Zentek. "Earth will be offered full membership, with special status as our defensive partner." Tay smiled. "From feared predators to valued protectors. Quite a change. My people still feel unease around humans," admitted Zentek. "It is deeply wired into us, but we are learning to see beyond our instincts." 1 month later on Earth, a historic ceremony took place. The Federation flag was raised alongside Earth's flags at the United Nations headquarters in New York. President Han signed the treaty as Ambassador Zaltek, and representatives from 12 other Federation species looked on. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," said the President. "Earth joins the Federation not just as a member but as a partner, bringing unique strengths to our shared future." June, Tay, and Jin stood together at the ceremony, honored for their roles in saving the Federation from the Krivax threat. "I never thought our predator traits would become our greatest diplomatic asset," said Jin with a smile. "Evolution is full of surprises," replied June. "The very things that made them fear us ended up making them value us." Later that evening, at a celebratory dinner, Ambassador Zaltek approached the 3 humans with a ceremonial cup filled with bright blue liquid. "This is Volran nectar," he explained. "On my world, sharing it symbolizes trust and friendship. My ancestors would never have believed we could share this with predators." He said the last word with a slight smile, the first time the humans had seen a Volranian attempt the expression. Tay accepted the cup. "To new understandings, and to differences that make us stronger together," added Zaltek. As they shared the drink, June noticed that Zaltek no longer flinched when looking into human eyes. The ambassador still tensed slightly when human pupils dilated. Some instincts ran too deep to completely overcome, but the fear had been replaced by respect. Outside the windows of the banquet hall, the night sky was filled with stars. Stars that were no longer just distant lights, but homes to allies and friends, part of a shared galaxy, where even the oldest evolutionary fears could be overcome through understanding and cooperation. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not despite their predator nature, but because of it. Sometimes it turned out what others fear most about you can become your greatest gift to them.